All right, welcome on back, everyone, to another episode of First CSP, the channel dedicated to bringing you the first council shoulder patch issued from each council in Scouting America, both past and present. Today we head far west to Blue Mountain, 604 out of Washington. Blue Mountain was originally chartered in 1923. Let's head on over to the patch table to take a look at their first issue T1. The T1 defined by its yellow border, red-orange sky, yellow name, dark blue mountains with ram's head having a small eye. And the ram's head having a small eye is the defining characteristic of the T1 and separates it from the T2. So this is another one where it can be a little challenging to discern the difference between the T1 and the T2. They are exceptionally similar. So we start off here. Note that you kind of have a representation of both the pupil and iris for the ram's head, and that's why it's not taking up the entire space. Let's see if we can magnify that a little bit. So there's the eye that they end up denoting as a small eye. It is a twill patch because the lower portion in green is green twill. The rest of the patch is sewn with solid embroidery. Take a look at the back. The back is also going to give us some contextual clues. Most notably, if you look along the edging here, the lock stitching, which is basically what attaches the rolled edge to the backing, you'll see that that lock stitching is all in yellow as well. That is decidedly different from the T2 and one of our context clues. But that is the first issue for Blue Mountain. Really unique choice of colors. It is a dark blue, but it's funny, against the mountains against the other colors chosen almost appear purple-ish. But if you do just look at the mountains themselves, they are actually dark blue, as listed in the description. All right, let's take a look at the T2. And on the T2, we have a yellow border again, red-orange sky, yellow name. Now they're calling the mountains purple, but again, it's that same kind of bluish hue. And we will do a side-by-side here in a second, specifically with the ram's head having a large eye. So now we see the eye is basically almost filled up the entire area here. That is one of the deciding factors. This is also the T2, again using green twill here. We are going to see a slight difference, I think, in the shade of yellow in the border versus the T1, as well as kind of the embroidery style. Not quite the font, but if you look at the two organs, they do appear to be slightly different when we put both up on the screen. Here we have the T2, and I talked about that lock stitching, which attaches the border to the patch, and here you can see in the T2 the lock stitching is a clear thread. I actually have a little bit of that clear thread kind of hanging down here, but I don't believe you might be able to see it all that well. But we can kind of zoom in here on the lock stitching. Again, you can see that it's just a clear thread, whereas on the first patch, the T1, it is yellow thread. Flip this back around, see if we can get both of these up here. So we do note a slight color variance in the yellow borders between the original T1 and the T2. Again, I don't think the eye is necessarily as big a variance as kind of it's made out to be. Here we get just more of a rounded eye, and here again you can see it's kind of taking it more. They're calling it the large eye. I note visibly in person that these two organs look different. I wouldn't call them a different font. You can see this one is noticeably brighter, and this is a little more kind of yellow golden when comparing the two. There's a slight difference kind of in how the snout of the ram's head is actually embroidered there. Obviously it looks a little thicker at the tip here And again, they're calling this blue and they're calling this purple. I understand it. I can actually see there is a variance in these two colors when you look at them in person, and this is more towards the royal blue spectrum, and this is more towards purple. But it's not something that if you were looking at a single photograph, you would say, ah, yes, I can see that's purple. Ah, yes, I can see that's blue, and tell the difference between the two. That's very difficult to do. We do see the Washington here just looks a little kind of a little more spread out as far as the little tight. This looks kind of thin and tight as far as how that's embroidered. Again, just trying to pick up on any differences that we can see when comparing the two. So if you were just looking at one photo, can you tell is it a T1 or a T2? Obviously, if you can get a photo of the back, that is helpful. I would almost say the tightness of the embroidery here for the borders is kind of a notable aspect. This seems a little looser, and this is super wound, which might also be helpful in detecting the difference between the T1 and the T2. We have the third patch as well, which takes that same representation and now adds BSA at the end. So this is the T3. Here you can see the ram's eye is even more filled in. I guess that would be a large eye, but the denoting factor here is certainly that they've now added BSA to the end. Take a look at the back here. We've now moved to a plastic backed patch. This one also using the clear locking thread for the back. But the challenge for Blue Mountain is certainly discerning T1 versus T2. Hopefully we've been able to help you out with that. If you need to, you can always go through and freeze frame to take a closer look at any individual picture here on the YouTube. Again, we hope that that's helpful for collectors, and we hope it's interesting if you're not a collector. Just find the differences between these minute differences between the issues. Always something that's somewhat fascinating. Again, thank you guys for sticking around to the end of the video. By all means, if you've enjoyed the commentary and video, please give it a like. Feel free to share it with others. We have new videos that drop every single day, so we hope to see you back tomorrow. But until then, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.